questions, but if they're at the committee, then we'd like to have them in written format submitted at the end of the meeting. There will be a short public comment time. Now, just a reminder, our focus points. It's the Township Board's responsibility to preserve and protect public health, safety, welfare, and the quality of life in a fair and equitable manner. And the Citizens Committee was established to assist the Township Board in the review of impacts associated with industrial wind turbines and recommend actions that will support the Township Board in fulfilling its responsibilities to the residents of Ogden Township. Now, I had originally thought that we would get right into the process of the developing of the report, because that is our intention tonight, but we have a few more documents that people brought that we will just go ahead and we'll allow for the overview, and then we'll move forward.
I have a few, and I don't know if anybody else does, but I got just a quick couple. If you don't mind, I'll go.
Okay.
I found the Ontario regulations here, you know, under the Environmental Protection Act. Basically, under wind facilities here, it goes through all different things, thermal treatment facilities and natural features, water bodies, all that type of thing. And basically, their wind turbine part of it is no person shall construct, install, or expand a wind turbine that meets the following criteria unless the base of the wind turbine is located at a distance of 550 meters from the nearest noise receptor, which, let's see, 550 meters, let's see, 500 meters is 1640, so add another, what, I can't do the math. But basically, it says the wind turbine has a nameplate capacity greater than 50 kilowatts. The wind turbine is not located in direct contact with surface water or any other wetland. The wind turbine has a sound power level that is greater than or equal to 120 dBA, which is measured at the hub. Subsection 3 applies. There's some other subsections. I'm just hitting this, and now whether or not this applies, I don't know, but they're just interesting facts. One or more turbines has a sound power level greater than 107 dBA. This application is respect to one or more wind turbines that are to form a part of a renewable energy generation facility consisting of 26 or more turbines, any of which sound power level has a greater than or equal to 102 dBA and less than 107 dBA, or the application is in respect to a renewable energy facility that would, once construction, installed, or expanded, result in 26 or more turbines located within a 3-kilometer radius of any noise receptor. And it basically goes into a table here, and it says if there's 1 to 5 turbines at 102 to 107 decibels, they graduate the noise from the total distance from the noise receptor from 550 at 102 decibels to 103 and 104 decibels. It goes to 600 meters. To 105, it's 850 meters. To 106 to 107, it's 950 meters. If there's 6 to 10 turbines, it's 102 is 650, and then it graduates up to 106 and 107 to 1200 meters. And if there's 11 to 25, at a 102 it's 750 meters, and there's 1500 meters at 106 to 107 decibels. So that's just real quick on that one. And my next one is the health and safety instruction from Vestas. I know we went through one before, but this is a different one. And this one basically has health and safety instructions for the wind turbine. The health and safety instruction is accredited working personnel and visitors in Vestas wind systems, wind turbines, and turbine sites. This health and safety instruction must be read and understood before accessing the turbine site before any installation or service task is carried out. General rules, the health and safety instruction must be read and understood before entering the turbine site, before taking action, blah, 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 so on. Those are general rules. Authorized personnel. Normally only authorized personnel are allowed to have access to a wind turbine site. Visitors are only allowed to access when accompanied by authorized personnel equipped with and instructed to use correct use of personal safety equipment. When entering the site, the person must wear the minimum hard hat and safety footwear. Personnel not appointed to vested wind turbine are not allowed to work in the turbine or in the turbine site. Only personnel who have received appropriate safety, rescue, and first aid training are allowed to work on the turbine site. Access to turbine site is prohibited in extreme weather conditions. This includes, but not as limited to, heavy drifting snowfalls, severe storms, and risks of lightning striking the turbine. Visitor and public access. Visitors are defined as all persons present at a wind turbine site without site-related work assignment. All visits demand permission from the supervisor or site manager. A competent person must always accompany the visitor. Visitor must wear PPE on site, which is personal protection, whatever the E stood for, equipment, which is safety boots, which are safety boots and a hard hat. Firearms of any kind are strictly forbidden on a turbine site. In case of a runaway operation is almost impossible as it would require several circumstances to happen at the same time. If a runaway operation should occur, the plant must be evacuated immediately by running upwind, and access to the surrounding area in the radius of at least 500 meters, which is 1,640 feet, must be restricted. Electric storms, lightning. No personnel are permitted in or near turbines during electrical storm. During electrical storm, there is a risk of lightning striking the turbine despite lightning protection on the turbine. If electrical storm approaches, evacuate the turbine immediately by running upwind. Be cautious of blade parts falling to the ground due to strokes of lightning. Do not approach a turbine for at least an hour after an electrical storm has passed due to the risk of static electricity on the blades. If there is crackling noise coming from wet blades, the turbine is still charged with electricity. Do not approach or touch the turbine. If the turbine has been struck by lightning and has been visibly damaged, cut of the power supply to the turbine and contact Vestas Wind Service Department for further inspection. A stroke of lightning will usually cause an automatic stop of the turbine and only damage the transient protection block. Extreme winds. In storms, hurricanes, extreme wind is in general, access to the wind turbine and site is strictly forbidden. Cold weather and heavy snow. In cold weather and heavy snow, there is a risk of ice and large amounts of snow falling from the blades or the nacelle, especially when the turbine starts up after a period of cold weather. There is also a risk of ice falling from the blades. Do not approach the turbine if there's any risk of snow or ice. So that's that document. What's interesting about that is that 500 meters is their safety zone, and so I know that we've been 500 meters is if it overspins. So then I went and I searched a little more online, and I ran into another turbine manufacturer, which is Nordex. And Nordex, if there's a fire, falling turbine parts, danger. In case of a fire in the nacelle or on the rotor, parts may fall off the wind turbine. In case of fire, nobody is permitted within a radius of 500 meters from the turbine. So it sounds like, basically, that it sounds like the industry standard from problems with these things are 500 meters from the turbine if there's any falling parts or burning, or if they overspin, they want to keep you away 1640 and evacuate people from the area. I went and I called OSHA and I asked them about it. And I said, well, what do you have OSHA? And I left a message the first time. And then I got a hold of somebody the second time while I was waiting for them to contact me back. And the guy from OSHA told me, he said, well, there are no OSHA regulations for turbines at this point in time, but they call the manufacturer and talk to them on what their setbacks are. And I mentioned the 1,300-foot setback that Vestas has, and he says, well, if that's what they say is a stay-away zone, then that's how far you have to stay away from that turbine unless you're brought with authorized personnel. He said also that, I said, well, what about me? They want them 1,320 feet from my house. And I said, if I walk out my back door 20 feet, I'm in the 1,320, I walk out 20 feet, I'm out in my barns or whatever, that I'm in the danger zone. And he said, absolutely. He said, but they don't control that part of it. They don't have the control over that, but he said, leave it up to your, by giving the information to your local officials that they have to make that determination on this stuff. But he says he understands where I'm coming from, especially with the fire and the overspin of 1,640. I mean, 1,640 feet, and it basically they said the states that they call the manufacturer, they don't talk to the developers. They talk to the manufacturers directly and get their information from them, because they have to be honest with, because if you have numerous manufacturers out there, and what they do is they come to consensus basically on what they all put together and say, wait a second, we go, because there's no rules on this, they basically go with what the manufacturer says. But our issue here is that we have 3 different developers here, and we don't know everybody what they are, and there could be a potential of getting bought out and having different turbines put in. We don't know. We don't know at this time. So basically OSHA said also that any visitors or anything, like if you go on a tour up to the thumb and see that. If they have Vestas turbines, that you should be wearing a hard hat and rubber boots. I've talked to numerous people that have been on the tour, and they said they didn't require them to wear rubber boots, even though Vestas does, so that was a violation, basically. If there's, you know, and what it does is also, he said, is that if you don't follow what the rules they have there, the liability will fall back on, because the township did that, all the liability goes away from the manufacturer if you set closer setbacks.
And
What the manufacturer suggests, so their liability goes off. So that's what they said, and then when I went, and then the lady called, another person called me back, the compliance, it's the OSHA Compliance Guidance Group, and when she called me back, she went and confirmed it. She was a little less, you know, talkative about it, but basically she said, I understand where you're coming from, but it's not our area of thing, but we understand if they have a setback of this amount in their paperwork, that I said, if we're 1320 and but it's the middle of the night and it overspins and I'm supposed to go 1640, who's gonna tell me? Who's gonna go and knock on my door and say you need to get away? I mean, do we have the guys that are gonna be local, but are they getting a call because their center is out in Iowa, you know? And that's what I mentioned to her, and she goes, well, I don't know. She goes, but you know, it's a good thing to bring up to your township board and everything. I explained who I was and what our deal was, and she said, you know, you have to go and that's I can see where the concern is here, and that's what they both said, is that we don't govern this and we have no rulings on this, but if normal people, if you're invited onto the site, is what they basically said, you have to wear the personal protective gear. Now, if it's 1,300 feet, you know, that means you go out your back door, you should be wearing personal protective gear. You know, and like I said, OSHA checks with them. Now all of a sudden, we're in the supposed danger zone, but on top of it, if a fire or if they overspend, you're really in the danger zone, your whole house. Everything is, you know. So, you know, that's the concern that when I talk to them, and like I said, I talked to 2 different people to get 2 different answers out of it. So that's where I'm at there. And then, this is just a thing about similar stuff in Falmouth. Basically, they said here, with the setbacks that GE had, they wanted to go and place a wind turbine, and GE refused to place a wind turbine because it was too close because of ice throw. And the ice throw, because of their calculations here, they refused, GE did, but Vestas did put one in. And what do you see here? Basically, Falmouth Wind 2, wind energy system construction proposed a GE wind turbine in Falmouth 2. GE declined to support the project due to safety concern, citing the proximity to a highway as too close to Wind 2. As a result, the town got a waiver from the EPA in order to use federal stimulus money, your federal tax dollars, to buy a foreign wind turbine from Vestas, a Danish company. According to why GE declined the Wind 2 project, according to Ken Vogel, president of the Wind Energy System Construction, GE wouldn't support the project, wouldn't provide a wind turbine in that area. GE said the location was not suitable because of ice throw and ice buildup. The highway was too close. Jack Sullivan, GE Energy, confirmed that GE had indeed declined to bid on the project because they deemed the site too close to Route 28, mentioned ice, and said the site is under the GE setback requirement. Said GE is serious about protecting the public, and GE was concerned about the unsuspecting general public driving on the route. Basically, their setbacks are 1.5 times the turbine, 1.5 times for ice throw, for ice shedding, 1.5 times hub height times rotor diameter. So there's where the turbines they used there was 769 feet is what they wanted from that GE wouldn't install because that was considered too close. And there's pictures in here of where their ice throw area, because they were going to get onto the highway and they refused to do that. So, you know, and because it was going to be in the 769 feet. So, I mean, and with the turbines here, I believe they're 300 foot to the nacelle and then 330. So I believe that's 780 feet here, that, and GE refused to put it because of the highway. So, I'll just let you know that. And the last thing is, real quick, is that when we've been going through all these things, we've got numerous ordinance from the developers and other people. I found an ordinance, and it's from pretty close here. It's from Rome Town.